Okay, my audience is going to be James McIntyre, Robert Wolf, and Nicholas Chamberlain. Yeah, make sure this is good.
Yes. Perfect.
It's good?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Hello, my name is Aryeh Wells, and today I'm going to give you a speech on the power of the unconventional mind. Imagine standing before a panel of elite university-trained engineers telling them that you are a simple bicycle mechanic with absolutely no college degree, and you are about to conquer human flight. They would have laughed at you right out of the room, yet that is exactly how modern aviation was created. In our everyday lives, we constantly hold ourselves back from pursuing major goals. We tell ourselves we lack the right title, the perfect resume, or a formal recognition. We treat our dreams like exclusive clubs that require a VIP pass to enter. As an active duty Air Force avionics technician for the last 5 years and an aviation history enthusiast, I have seen firsthand how rigid, over-engineered processes can completely stall progress. Conversely, I have witnessed how grassroots, hands-on experimentation often yields the greatest breakthroughs. True innovation does not require a formal credential. Instead, it requires the systematic experimentation, curiosity, and relentless grit demonstrated by the self-taught Wright brothers. Today, we are going to confront the modern problem of credential inflation that paralyzes our creativity. Then we will look at how two bicycle mechanics use grassroots experimentation to achieve what experts deemed mathematically impossible. Finally, we will visualize a future where you unleash your own inner innovator. To understand why we must adopt this innovative mindset, we first need to look closely at the mountain barrier that keeps many of us grounded. We live in a society that aggressively gatekeeps innovation. We operate under the false assumption that unless you possess an elite degree or a massive corporate budget, you are simply unqualified to solve monumental problems. This institutional gatekeeping isn't new, though. Historically, it has always crushed grassroots creativity by mocking outsiders. At the turn of the 20th century, the world's most heavily credentialed experts used their prestigious titles to declare human flight a physical impossibility. For instance, Rear Admiral George W. Melville, Chief Engineer of the United States Navy, famously ridiculed the conception of aviation. He wrote that the idea of a functional flying machine was wholly unwarranted, if not absurd. But just 2 months before the Wright brothers proved him wrong, world-renowned mathematician Simon Newcomb, published a paper mathematically proving that a machine can never carry the weight of a pilot. According to aviation history analysis published by Forbes, this elite skepticism ran so deep that even 2 years after the Wright brothers had successfully flew, the engineering editors of the Times of New London stubbornly proclaimed that all attempts at flight were doomed to failure from the engineering standpoint. When we rely strictly on established institutions and formal credentials to tell us what is possible, progress slows down, and groundbreaking practical perspectives are entirely cast aside. While the systematic expert-led hesitation paralyzed the academic world at the turn of the century, history proves that the world's greatest breakthroughs don't come from elite lecture halls. They come from dusty workshops such as the Wright brothers. To bypass the modern credential trap, we must actively embrace methodical curiosity and continuous experimentation over formal titles. The ultimate proof of this approach sits aside a standard bicycle shop. As documented by the U.S. Department of the Interior, Wilbur and Orville Wright had 0 formal engineering degrees. They ran the Wright Cycle Company in Dayton, Ohio, which I've been to. They used basic bicycle mechanics, understanding balance, control, and wind resistance to outthink the heavily funded scientists of the air. When credentialed experts focused solely on building massive, raw engine power, the Wright brothers focused on agility. They invented something called wing warping to prioritize aerodynamic control. And according to aviation history historian Tom D. Crouch of the Britannica, their willingness to fail, test, and adapt led to their historic 12-second, 120-foot powered flight in December 17, 1903. They succeeded precisely because they were agile, hands-on, and unburdened by rigid academic dogmas. They didn't wait for permission or a diploma. They built a wind tunnel in their own shop and rewrote the laws of aerodynamics themselves. And now that we see how a self-taught approach conquered the sky, let's step forward in time and look at how applying the same mindset changes our own personal trajectory. Imagine the cost of changing nothing. If you continue to wait for the perfect time, a massive budget, or the next certificate before launching your project, your ideals will die with you. You will remain a permanent spectator in a world built by people who simply chose to try. But now imagine a life where you dive directly into your passions. You start that business, you build that app, you start that project. Whatever resources you have right now is what you have, and that's what you would use. You transform into an active innovator, and then you rely on your own resilience and self-taught skills to find the solutions. You stop worrying about who is gatekeeping the door and you build your own path instead. Now, the choice between staying safely grounded or taking flight is ultimately up to yours to make, but let us review on how we can carry the spirit of innovation forward. In conclusion, innovation belongs to the curious and the disciplined, not just the heavily credentialed. The Wright brothers proved that systematic, independent experimentation can reshape global connection forever. Today, we looked at how credential traps hold us back, how two self-taught brothers bypass those traps to conquer the sky, and how embracing a builder's mindset can transform your life. So stop waiting for permission to be great. Identify the one major problem in your life, in your community, or your career from this week. Do not wait for a formal class or a massive budget. Start testing the solution using whatever tools are sitting in your own bicycle shop right now. And the next time you look up at a jet tearing through the clouds, remember that global aviation didn't start with a government grant or an Ivy League laboratory. It started in a sand dune with two self-taught brothers who seemed to simply refuse to be grounded. Thank you.